Hey guys, welcome to this week's Friday Wrap. All right, I'm going to do one which is a little bit similar to one I did a few weeks ago, but there's going to be a different spin on what we talk about. So we're going to talk about allocating money to an investment and how much you need to put away over different periods of time to reach the same outcome, give or take about $1 million. I won't give it much of an intro. Let's just get into it. So analysis of the first $1 million. So I did this one similar a few weeks ago. If you've got 50 years to go, so this is when you're starting an investment strategy for your children. Say if they're 10 years old or when they were first born, whatever it is, and you put away $60 a month with a quarterly compound, a 10% return, with 50 years to go, you will accumulate $1,014,000, okay? I'm not worried about tax, I'm not worried about inflation, I'll deal with that some other time. Right now, I'm purely worried about the numbers. So let's go, $60 a month, 50 years invested, becomes $1,014,000. What about if we start when we've got 40 years to go? You need to put in $163 a month for 40 years, which just so happens to be 2.71 times more than what you would have had to put in had you have started 10 years earlier. So one of the things we want to look at is to say that today is the day where your required input is the smallest it's ever going to be to get to an output. And the longer you wait, as you will see in this report here, the less likely or the less ability it is that you've actually got to do it. So if we've got $60 a month for 50 years, super achievable, no worries at all. If we've got 40 years to go, $160 a month, still achievable, but it's 2.71 times more than what we would have had to done or do if we started 10 years earlier. What if we've got 30 years to go? We need to put away $453. Remember our assumptions, 10% return, compounded quarterly. Not worried about inflation, not worried about tax. We're just worried about these numbers and the concept of putting money away and how much it increases over time. $453 is 2.78 times more than what it would have been if you started 10 years ago, and 7.55 times more than what it would have been had you have started 20 years ago. What if we've got 20 years to go? We now need to put away $1,340. So this is where it starts to become a bit of an impact on the family budget. 20 years, $1,340, touch over $1 million. 2.96 times more than what it was if you had 30 years to go when you had to put away $453. So it's nearly 3 times as much, 8.2 times more than had you have started 20 years ago, and 22 times more than what it would have been had you started with 50 years to go. And finally, let's have a look at it with 10 years to go. $5,000 a month is your required input. So I said it gets to a point, the longer you leave it, it gets to a point where the possibility is, can we actually do this? Can we afford $5,000 a month? Not many people can. So 3.68 times more than what you would have had to have put away had you have started 10 years ago. 10 times, 30 times, and 82 times more. So the point of it all, as I've already said, is today is the smallest the contribution that you need to make is going to be, then it becomes over time. And as you can see, the amount becomes considerably higher. Yeah, that was 50 years ago, but what if you set up a good habit for a 10-year-old when, at $60 a month, and they needed to continue it on with $60? Who's not going to do that? All right, one last thing that I want to bring your attention here. If you start 50 years out, you only need to put in $36,000. The time that you're invested will do the rest. Have you heard me say it before? Time is your biggest asset. But the problem with time being an asset is it has a diminishing value. If you didn't utilize last week, last month, last year for what it offers, you've got less time to generate the result, meaning you have to do more in that time to get the result. You'd think I'd said it before, wouldn't you? All right. $36,000 is what your required contribution is over 50 years. $78,000 is what your required contribution is over 40 years. $163,000, $321,000, and $591,000. If we can let time work its magic, it's going to do wonderful things for us. But we have to be in the game, swinging the bat for all that time. Not many people do, but if you do, if you can, you're going to be grateful for it. And that's it. Friday wrap, 5 minutes. Happy days. See you next week.